Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to the video. In this one, we are going to be making this, a wrap cover mixtape idea that actually came from a subscriber Bay Area. So shout out to the Bay Area for suggesting this. Mixtapes and wrap covers from the early 2000s into 2010-ish. They had some really cool, they still kind of do some really cool covers, kind of a unique style. So we're going to put something together with these photos I got here. I got a vault, I got this kind of abandoned background, two models, a texture, and these kind of apocalyptic looking guys. So we'll see what we can do with that. To get started here, I'm just going to reset my studio by going up to Window, Studio, and Reset Studio, just to set everything back to default. Now, I'm going to speed up parts of these videos where I'm isolating these subjects because it'll take a little while. Just know that I'm using the selection brush tool up in the tools menu here. So I'm going to start with the selection brush tool, which is W on your keyboard. And then I'm going to refine a lot of them by using the pen tool. So I have videos, the pen tool is over here. So I have videos on both of these. I have the selection brush tool, which I'll link below, and I have the pen tool as well, which I'll link below. And once you learn those, you're on your way to making some awesome stuff. So I'm going to start now by isolating these models, and I'll speed the video up and I'll come back in to give you an update on what I'm doing and the changes I'm making, and then we'll go from there. So I'll see you in a little bit as I start isolating these models first. Okay, everybody, so I got these two models isolated now. This model here wasn't so bad. This guy was a little bit harder here. And I actually just ended up putting a rectangle behind him in some color so I could isolate him a little bit better once he was picked out. So yeah, I started with the selection brush tool for both of them, and I refined them a little bit with the pen tool just to get them cleaned up. And I'm going to place them about here for now. This might change. And next thing I'm going to do is start with the background. So I'm going to use this background here. I'm going to isolate part of that. I'm going to get rid of the sky and keep this part. And then I'll turn these two models off so I can do that. And then I'm going to quickly do this one. I'll start with the selection brush tool again, and I will refine it with the pen tool, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've isolated this background. It looks a little bit weird over here to the left, but that's okay. We'll fix all that up. I just wanted to get rid of the sky, so I'm going to bring back these two models back in here. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to use this vault picture here as well. So this vault is going to go behind everything. And we'll see how that looks. Bring that up to maybe here, and then we're going to pull this down to the bottom underneath. So we have this vault behind here. Something like that, maybe. Make it a touch smaller. All right, so we got these two guys. We got the vault. Next, I'm going to add a bit of a green glow behind the background, but in front of this vault. So to do that, I'm going to go over to my shapes here. I'm going to grab an ellipse tool. I'm just going to hold Shift and pull a circle out. And I'm going to make the circle green, some kind of a green. Not sure yet. I can change the color, but I'm going to make it green for sure. We'll make it bright green for now. We'll see how that goes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this circle. I'll call it here green glow. I'm going to call it. Not green flow, green glow. And I'm going to pull it down in front of the vault, but behind the background. So you can see it's sort of in between these two to create some depth. Next thing I'm going to do is add an effect on it to make it blurry so it actually looks like it's glowing. So to do that, I got my green glow selected. I'm going to go over to my effects right here, the bottom of my layers tab, and I'm going to pick a Gaussian blur or Gaussian blur, some people say. And if I turn it all the way up to 100, it's going to get blurry, but I actually want it blurrier than that. So I'm going to turn it, I'm going to click in this box here. I'm going to type like 500. I want it very blurry. So 500 works. I'm going to move it around now maybe underneath and drag it this way a little bit so there's a bit of a glow. I might turn it down a bit too. I don't know if I want it this strong. Maybe I'll pull it down here. Maybe like that for now. Again, we'll fix this as we go, but maybe I'll turn it down a little bit so it's there but not so crazy. Okay, so now I also want this abandoned background to be kind of greenish too, because that's the glow coming off that. So I'm going to turn these two models off just so I can see this. And to change this, what I'm going to do is add a curves adjustment. So I've got my new background, this abandoned background selected. I'm going to go to my adjustments here, and I'm going to pick a curves adjustment. So my curves adjustments popped up. I'm going to drag it on top of my new background because I want it just to apply it to the background. So with my curves adjustment here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a little bit darker, just a little bit. So what I'm going to do now that I've made it a little bit darker is I'm going to go to this drop down here that says master. I'm going to pick green out of this list, and I'm going to pull my curves adjustment up because I want it to have a little bit of a green glow. Just a little bit to make it a little more eerie and match that glow there. So here's what it looked like with it, and that's before. So before and after, just a little change there. I might pull this vault up a bit too, maybe about there for this vault. We'll see. Okay, now let's bring these models back. And this is looking decent. It's coming together. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of these guys, these apocalyptic looking guys. So I'm also going to speed this up too. This selection should be okay, but there's going to be some weird spots. So I'm just going to go through and do this. This will be selection brush tool, and then I'll clean it up with the pen tool as well. So I will do that now, and I'll get back to you when I'm ready. Okay, now we got this guy, and he is of course no other than Goonie 2, and I'm just going to put him in the background. That's why I wasn't worried about his selection being so crazy, because I want him to be sort of a background character. Maybe you can help me cover up this stuff over here. And we'll work on the colors on all these guys maybe right now. To make them sort of blend in. So let's start with this guy. I'm going to click on this guy first, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him a curves adjustment. So he's in the background, so I want him to be a little bit darker. And I want to bring, so I'm going to bring the curves adjustment down. I'm also going to bring green up because I want him to have a bit of a green glow from being more in that background. That's a little bit better, a little bit more believable. We'll work on him as well a little bit more. I'm going to click on this guy. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to apply a curves adjustment to him. Drag that on top of there. I'm going to make him a little bit darker as a background character. I'm going to go to my drop down here, and of course I'm going to turn the green up on him, blend him right in. That looks a little bit better for sure. I think I'm going to darken the background, the ground a little bit. And I think I'll just do that by using the burn tool over here. So I'm going to select the burn tool. My opacity is at 61%, so that's not too crazy, not too dark. And I just want to make this a bit darker here in this background. Something like that works for me. And now let's add a title. Before I add a title, I'm going to add some green shadows to these guys. So the main characters, I don't actually want them to change too much color-wise. I like the tone of them. I want them to stand out in the front. But I do want to add some highlights and shadows on them. So the way I'm going to do that here is I want to give them a green glow too. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is apply an HSL adjustment to both of these models here because I want a green glow sort of behind them, and I'll show you why I'm doing that. So what I'm going to do is first is select this model here, model 2. I'm going to go down to my adjustments, and I'm going to add an HSL adjustment. I'm just going to drag it on top of this model. And what I'm trying to do is make his hoodie green, as green as I can make it. So it stands out. It's going to look a little crazy at first, but I'll explain why I'm doing it. So I'm going to drag his hoodie until I get a green, and I want it bright, not that bright. I just want it to be so it stands out. So I know it looks a little bit weird, but I'll show you why I'm doing this. Okay, so because these adjustments all have masks built in, what I'm going to do now is, now that I have this crazy adjustment on here, is I'm going to invert it. So I'm essentially going to flip the mask, and then I'm going to paint back little portions of green where I want it to make it look like the green is behind him and it's glowing. So to invert my HSL adjustment, like I said, there's a mask already attached to it with all adjustments. On my keyboard, because I'm on a Mac, I'm going to hit Command I. On a PC, you would hit Control I. So I got my HSL selected. I'm going to hit Command I. Now my mask is flipped, but I can paint my mask. My adjustment's flipped, but it's a mask, so I can paint it back in now using my paintbrush, right? So if I'm painting in white here and I've got my brush selected, I can go in here and start painting some of this back. So it might be a bit too much. I might have to take some away, but we'll see as I'm doing this, because I want this glow to sort of be behind him. So I'm just lightly painting around the edge of his hoodie here, as I'm painting that HSL adjustment sort of back in. It might be a bit too much behind him. Might be okay. And what I'm going to do is turn my opacity down a little bit here, and I'm just going to get a couple other spots of his hoodie here. I'll turn this right down actually, and I'm just going to paint a little bit over here so that glow looks like it's coming from behind here. And I'm going to go down around here, and of course around here on his shirt, because it would be hitting the back of his sweater a little bit if it was behind him. Make a bit of a glow here and a bit of a glow down here. So let's see. So this is what it's like when it's on. This is if I turn it off. So it's just a little something that adds a bit of glow behind him to make it look like, make it look a little bit more realistic. And now I'm going to do the exact same thing for this model here. So I'm going to go to model 1 here. I'm going to add a HSL adjustment. I'm going to drag that on top of the model. And again, I'm going to go for like a green, like an extreme green. Maybe something like that, so I can just slightly paint it back in. So now that he is green, I'm going to invert this HSL adjustment again by, on my Mac, hitting Command I. On your PC, you would hit Control I. Now it's been inverted. With my mask selected, I'm going to grab my paintbrush, and I'm going to start painting some of this back in here. So we'll go around the back of it, or the top of his hair a little bit, which won't be too visible because I don't have a crazy strong thing on, but on the skin it'll be a lot more noticeable. I don't want this to be too strong. I just want a little bit of a glow here. A little bit of a notion that this green, I'll turn it up for this spot of his shirt here because he's got a white shirt on. So I'm just going to go around and just lightly touch parts of his skin here. Hopefully it doesn't look too crazy when I zoom out. We'll see. That might be a bit too much. But even with this model, I'll try his hair again up here, maybe a little bit, just to blend it in. This is with the adjustment on and then off. So just a little bit of glow around him. Not perfect, but you know, we're not being complete experts here. We're just adding something cool. Okay, so now that we got that, I'm going to add a bit of a burn effect to this guy here. I want him a little bit darker still. So let's burn him up a bit because he looks a bit too lit up, even though I like the green. I'm looking a little bit more malicious and darker, and I'm also going to add a little shadow on this guy. So let's do a new pixel layer, and I'm just going to, actually, you know what? Don't need a pixel layer. I'm going to grab a shape. I'm going to grab a circle. I'm going to draw it out. I'm going to make it black. I'm going to go to my effects tab, do a Gaussian blur here. I'm going to blur it. Maybe like that. And I'll just move it over here so there's a bit of a shadow where he's walking. Bring the opacity down so it's not so strong. Just so there's a little bit of a shadow where he's walking, maybe that. Just adds a little something. Okay, now let's add a title, and I'm going to call this delivery. Delivery will be the name of this mixtape. And we're going to add, I've already got a texture picked out, so I'm going to add a texture in this. So I've got my text selected. I got a texture here I'm going to use. This one here, because it's green, it matches up. I'm going to drag it on top of my text because I want to bring it inside my text here. And maybe, no, that's pretty cool. I think I'll do that. And now that we have that, let's do, we're going to add some other stuff to this, but let's add a shadow. What I'm going to do is go to my effects, and I'm actually going to do an inner shadow, not an outer shadow. So I'm going to go to my effects here. I'm going to click on inner shadow, and I'm going to drag it in to see if it looks like it'll indent a little bit here with the shadow. Maybe that is what I'll use there. And now let's add some other effects to this. Let's go, I'm going to go to the very top, and I'm going to go to my brushes, and I have this actually Dream Photography pack is free with Affinity Photo. When you get Affinity Photo 2, it's actually available on the site for free. So I'm going to grab that because there's some gunshots that I want out of there, and I'm going to use these gunshots on this thing here. So let's bring the opacity down because I don't want it too crazy. It's in white, so that's cool. I want to be sort of careful where I place these. Actually, no, I don't want to do it that big because I want to show that guy in the background. I don't want to overdo it. Maybe I will go with a single shot here because I want to place these. Yeah, this is a little better here. So let's go here. Let's go here. Rotate this one a little bit. Yeah, I like that. And let's add some text at the top. And since Bay Area suggested this, so I'm going to call it Bay Area Productions. Put that at the top, Bay Area Productions. And let's ignore that spelling because we don't want the red line there just for your viewing pleasure. And I think I'll add something up here just to make this a little cooler. I might bring all of these guys up. So the model, let's grab the model and Goonie 2 or Goonie 1 and these guys. I'm just going to bring them up a little, I think, or make them a little bit bigger actually. There we go. So I like how that looks, and I'll just add one other thing here. Let's add a new pixel layer here. I'm going to go to my brushes, and I'm going to grab some like cracks or what do we got in the green? Just something that's a little bit. Let's go to, sorry everybody, I'm just working through this. These scratch brushes maybe. Make them black. And bring the opacity way down here. I'm just gonna add some scratches on this vault here, just to make it a little bit more beat up. Cool. So I'm going to do a few more tweaks here just to really make it pop out and see how it looks. Okay, so that's our final cover here with some tweaks. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this, if you would just do me a huge favor, if you could just tap that like button. It does so much for me. You have no idea. And if you've first time you've seen my videos, if you've seen them before and you're not subscribed, come on. Join the gang, subscribe. I got more coming. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I get back to everybody. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.